Okay, guys. Phones up. Just for myself, rather than. There'll be sorry. There'll be a break in an hour and a quarter. It's 10, 11:15, and then through till 45 minutes, and it starts getting really hot. It starts getting really hot. Go out on yourself, guys. Come back soon.
Okay. Would everybody just turn the mobile phones off, please, or put them on airplane mode?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. So, surprised so many people want to know about karma. So, yeah. But, karma, we often talk about, we often think about all the nice fuzzy things about Buddha's teachings, developing minds of love and compassion and so on. And it's where we want to develop wisdom too, realizing emptiness. But really the motivation and the force that drives us to want to do these things, want to improve ourselves, and the means by which we can improve ourselves is our understanding of karma. A relationship between our past and our present and our future. So that's what I want to talk about today, because it's so important that we understand karma, because this is this relationship between causes and effects. So that everything appears because the causes have been created for it to appear. Like, the park across the road, Sefton Park. It appears because there were causes created for it to appear. Someone came along, designed the thing, and then planted trees and dug out a lake and so on. And all of these things were necessary to happen in order for this beautiful park to appear in our lives. But then we can apply this to actually everything. We can apply this notion of cause and effect to everything, even ourself, even everything that we know, everything that we experience. It's all arising because the causes of it have been created in the past. And we forget how intrinsically involved we are, and we have been, in creating causes. And we're creating causes moment by moment. So like you coming here today is creating a cause. Yeah? And it's a good cause, so you have good results coming into you in the future. Morning. So, that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So we begin with liberating prayer, and then we'll do a meditation.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight through your compassionate intention. Your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you. May all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may Holy Dhamma flourish forevermore.
And so we can meditate, just to make our mind peaceful and calm. And try to let go of all your concerns and thoughts about the outside world. You can imagine that the whole of the outside world, outside of this room, just dissolves into empty space, so that only this room remains and everyone in it. And then bring your mind even further inwards, just to watch the rhythm of your own breathing. You breathe in, you breathe out. Don't try to speed up your breathing or slow it down. Just observe your natural rhythm. And then after a few moments, try to notice how your breath feels at the tip of your nose. And you may notice it feels slightly cool as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, it's slightly warm. So try to find that subtle feeling at the tip of your nose. Cool as you breathe in, warm as you breathe out. And then once you've found it, just allow your whole mind to focus on that feeling. As if your whole mind is absorbing into the feeling, and the feeling is absorbing into your mind. So there's no gap between your mind and the feeling. Trying to keep your mind focused on that feeling, absorbed into that feeling. So you may notice that allowing your mind to remain on that feeling, your mind becomes still. And from this stillness of your own mind comes a deep feeling of peace and contentment. Sometimes you may feel it'd be nice to stay like this all day. And now turn your attention to any feelings of peace and contentment that you have. And realize this is your own mind. This is the underlying nature of your own mind, like a clear sky with no clouds. Clear mind with no distracting thoughts. Just stillness. So you can have this feeling of peace and contentment anytime, just by making your mind still, free from distracting thoughts. And it helps to free your mind from distracting thoughts by imagining that the external world just disappears. So now you can begin to relax your concentration. And when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So I have some questions for you that I want you to ponder. The first one is, who are you? Don't tell me your name, but just if you're asked to describe who you are, how would you describe yourself? Something to do with your physical nature, something to do with your mind, your thoughts, your patterns of thinking, your habits, your relationships with other people, your relationships with place, your relationship with the things that you enjoy. Yeah. So just think about that for a moment. And then the second question is, how did you get here? And don't tell me by car or bicycle or walk, but how did you get here? How did you become the person you are, sitting right here and now, in this moment, in space and time? And think about all the causes that were necessary for you to be who you are right now. So I'm asking you to think about all the previous causes that appeared in your life, your own actions and your own experiences. And then the third question is, where are you going? Where are you going? Don't say home or my holidays. I mean, in the long term, in the very long term, in the rest of this life and your next life and the life after that. Where are you going? So often we think that everything that's happening to us is just almost by chance, just a random process, it's just luck. We have good luck, we have bad luck, and good things happen or unpleasant things happen, and it's just fate or kismet or destiny or something like that. But all of those things implies there is something else outside of us, outside of who we are, that's determining what happens to us. Yeah? But none of that is true. There's no one externally keeping a book and say, oh, there's a bad action of that person, I'll just write that one down and punish them later. There's nothing like that going on. There's no such thing as luck. There's no... everything is arising from causes. It's important that we come to understand that. And it's important that we come to understand that we are involved in creating causes that will determine how we experience our life, what determine how who we will be, what our relationships with other people are, and where we stay, and what experiences we have going forward. It's already, our past actions, our past thoughts and actions of speech and actions of body have already determined who we are right in this moment in time. All the causes that we've experienced, we've created going in the past, are creating who we are right now. And it continues. This process of cause and effect never stops. In every moment of our life, we're engaging in actions of thought, actions of mind, actions of speech, and bodily actions as well. So, some of our actions are intended. We think, oh, I want to help this person, I want to benefit them, I want to make them happy. And so we have this intention, this virtuous intention. The word virtue simply means that which is the cause of happiness. So we have an intention to cause happiness for other people. And so we engage in actions that we understand through our understanding, through our wisdom, will help others to find happiness. But there are times also when we have harmful intentions. No? Or am I speaking to the choir here? Do you have harmful intentions sometime? It's okay to admit it. It's actually better to own them, because if we can't own them and they just stay there, then it's like just causing us problems all the time. But if we own our negative thoughts and negative bad habits, negative intentions, then we can do something about it. Yeah. So sometimes I'm saying maybe there's some remote possibility that you might have on once in a blue moon a negative thought that will cause you to engage in negative speech or negative actions. And so those thoughts and that speech and those actions, physical actions, will be a cause of something else. And the result will be similar to the actions that we engage in. We engage in negative actions, we create negative results. We engage in positive actions, we create positive results. It's as clear as that. So often we think, well, if nobody's watching, maybe I'll get away with it. It never happens, you know. We only experience the results of our own actions, and our actions are never wasted. There's always a result of our own actions, and we only experience the results of our own actions. We don't experience the results of other people's actions. Other people may be involved in bringing us the results of our actions, but they're almost like sub-characters in our own drama. Yeah, the main cause of our actions, main cause of our experiences, and the main cause of who you are right now is your own past actions. And so you can decide for yourself, did I engage in good actions or did I engage in horrible actions in the past? You know? So we're talking not just about actions that we've engaged in this life, causes that we've created within this lifetime. We're also talking about causes, and mainly talking about causes that we created in previous lifetimes. So the problem in understanding karma then is, how do we come to be able to understand the relationship between our past actions in previous lives, which have no longer exist. Those past lives no longer exist. How do we understand the relationship between the causes that we created by our actions in previous lives and our experiences in this lifetime and in future lifetimes? Well, it arises because we have a mind. We have a mental continuum. That one thought just leads to the next one, that leads to the next one, to the next one, the next one. And this cause and effect of our mind, of our thoughts, never stops. And it's been around since beginningless time. Yeah? It's important to think about the nature of your mind. And the nature of your mind is not a physical thing. Your mind is not your brain. Your mind is just like clear, empty space, which is good because if your mind was just your brain, and when you see an elephant, for example, you can't get the elephant inside your brain. Yeah? In order for you to be able to understand and know and experience the elephant, you can only do it because your mind has no form. It's just like empty space. But the empty space is different from the empty space in this that we see in this room or when we look up into the sky. The empty space of our mind has this function that it's able to know things and understand things and cognize things. So when you see an elephant or think about an elephant, the elephant is appearing in the empty space of your mind, and your mind is functioning to cognize it, to know it, to experience it. Yeah, and that's what's happening right in this moment. You're seeing me, you're listening to my voice, and that my form, my physical form, and the sound of my voice is appearing in your mind. Yeah? I'm not inside your brain. Well, metaphorically, maybe I am inside your head. It's, yeah, I've come to trample all over it. But in order for this whole room, in order for you to experience this whole room at the same time, you have to do it with your mind. We only experience things with our minds, so everything we experience is inside our mind. And therefore, this is our experience. And again, we have to think, Yeah, we have the karma for this sound to go off. Anyway, so yeah, this is one of our experiences, and somehow or other we've created the cause for it to happen. So we're getting back to the nature of our mind. So the question arises, where does our mind come from in this lifetime? You know, we know where our body comes from. Yeah? Your body comes from your parents, right? When your parents, your mother and father, engaged in an act of union, then there was a little sperm from your father and an egg from your mother that came together and created a cell. And that cell divided, and they kept on dividing and dividing until you were a fetus inside your mother's womb. And then something like 9 months later, pop, you appear in this world. Yeah? But so we know where your body comes from, but where does your mind come from? If your mind is not a physical thing, it cannot just appear from another physical thing. Your mind cannot just appear from your parents, your father or your mother. Your mind appears in this lifetime from the last moment of your mind in your previous lifetime. So in your previous lifetime, when you were in the process of dying, your mind was absorbing into your deepest level of mind, which carries with it all the potentials of your previous actions that have not yet ripened as effects. So all your waking minds, your dreaming minds dissolve into and absorb into your deepest level of mind. It's called your very subtle mind. And then at that moment, your mind and your body, the connection is broken. Yeah? You know, when you fall asleep, the same thing happens. Your waking mind absorbs into your dreaming mind, and then your dreaming mind absorbs into your deepest level of mind, your very subtle mind. And then, but when you begin to reawaken, then your dreaming mind reappears from your very subtle mind, and then when you hear the alarm go off and you smell the coffee, then your waking mind reappears from your dreaming mind. But the connection with your body remains. So you reawaken in the same body, right? Well, it's slightly different, but it's virtually the same. It's the same continuum of your body. But when we're dying, then the connection between our mind and our body is broken. The connection between our mind and body is broken, and so the mind just leaves the body behind and goes into an intermediate state, like another dream state, but just floating around in the ethernet. And then it comes into the point of contact between your mother and father at the time of their union, at the time of the creation of this cell, this beginning of your new body. And then it comes into that and connects with that. And that connection is maintained. And even throughout the period when we're a fetus, and gradually our mind is developing, the things of feeling and discrimination is developing, and then we're born. And then our mind grows until we become children, we can't start learning things, experiencing things, and we become adults. And the whole process is just one continuum of mind. Yeah? And it's been going on since beginningless time. If you try and find the first moment of your mind, you go back into your previous life and think, oh, I've found it. But then you have to ask the question, well, what caused that moment of mind? And it must have been a previous moment. And so you ask, well, what caused that one? Oh, one before that. You have to keep going back through all your past lives, trying to find the first moment of your mind, first moment of your mental continuum. You can never find it. I think one of our problems in the West is that we view time as linear. If time is linear, it must have a beginning and it must have an end. But in Buddhist view, it's not linear. It doesn't need to be linear. It could be curvilinear. I don't know if you heard of something called a Mobius ring. You know, it's like you can take a piece of tape and twist it and connect the ends. And what you've created is a continuous surface. Yes, so you can put your finger and it keeps going round and round and round, never comes to an end. Yeah, you can never find the end of this Mobius ring. Anyway, our mind is a bit like that. It just keeps going round and round, almost in a never-ending spiral, upwards or downwards. Yeah. So, if we can come to the realization that we've had previous minds before the mind of this life, then we've had previous lives, because our mind has been associated with a body. We had a body and a mind last life, and then we had a body and a mind before that one, and so on. So we've had countless bodies in the past. We have countless lives in the past. All because we have this never-ending mental continuum, that one moment of thought is always leading to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So when I asked you the question, who are you? Now we can begin to ask the question, who were you in your previous life? What were you doing in your previous life? You were engaging in actions and experiencing their results. The function of a person, the definition of a person, the definition of who you are, is essentially an I or a self. And we all have this thought about ourself. And we have a name that's attached to that self in this lifetime. But it's a self that is simply imputed. We create the idea of ourself based upon our experience of our body and our mind. So our self is our person is simply a self that is imputed upon a body and a mind. So in this moment in time, when I ask you the question, who are you? You are a self that's imputed upon your particular body and your particular mind. And it's different from everybody else's body and mind. But then we have to ask the question, well, how did our mind get to here? Actually, one more thing. The function of a person is to engage in actions and experience their results. The function of a person, and that's what we do all the time. We engage in actions and we experience their results. But the results that we experience from any individual action don't necessarily occur immediately. They can occur a long time in the future. So this understanding of the nature of our mind, the nature of who we are as a person, and the nature of our function as a person to engage in actions and experience their results is the beginning of our understanding of karma. Because we were a person in a previous life, in a life before that. So let's say in our previous life we were engaging in all kinds of actions. Some of those actions were beneficial, virtuous, creating happiness for other people. Some of them were non-virtuous, creating harm and so on for other people. Now, the thing about karma is that every time we engage in an action, any kind of action of body, speech or mind, we create a potential that is planted in our deepest level of mind. But the action is always initiated by our mind. So for example, I'm going to go to Kadampa Meditation Centre, Liverpool today. That's a virtuous action because essentially you're taking refuge in Dharma and Sangha and in Buddha. So you're taking refuge by coming here today. It's simply a simple act of refuge. And that in itself is a virtuous action that will have good results. But there may be other times when in the past, because you had self-cherishing and you experienced someone who you thought was frustrating your wishes, and so you got angry with them. You ever been angry in this lifetime? Yeah. So it's highly likely then that you were angry in a previous lifetime. Yeah. Even if you were a human being in a previous lifetime, there's no guarantee. We've been all kinds of different types of person in our past lives. But let's say you were a human being and someone was preventing you from finding real happiness, fulfilling your wishes, and you got unhappy with them because you thought that the real cause of your unhappiness is coming from them. It's their fault. So you blame them, and so you want to change. You want to get rid of these unpleasant feelings that are the results of your past actions, but you're blaming the other person, and so you speak harshly to them. Or maybe you hurt them physically in some way. You take a baseball bat to them. Or something like that. And this happens all the time, And so we engage in a negative action. And we plant a negative seed in our mental continuum. And that negative seed does not ripen right away in our past life. But because it's planted in our deepest level of mind, it comes with us into this lifetime. And so maybe in this lifetime we experience the result of this potentiality, this seed. If you're like a gardener, if you think of having a nice garden and we want to have only beautiful flowers and plants growing in our garden, and yet we plant negative seeds of horrible weeds, dandelions and all that kind of stuff, thistles, and mind you, that's a beautiful flower. And other negative flowers, And you plant those seeds, you're not going to have a beautiful garden. You're not going to have beautiful flowers growing up. And the same, if we have engaged in negative actions in our past life, and they didn't ripen, those potentials didn't ripen in that lifetime, they came with us, with our mind, into this lifetime, this is a possibility that they might ripen when the conditions are right, when they might ripen as suffering in this lifetime, as an ugly experience, suffering. So, because the function of a person is to engage in actions, we engaged in the actions in our previous life, a particular negative action, and to experience their results, now we're experiencing the result in this lifetime. So you begin to understand how there's the actions that we take in previous lives are like the causes of our experiences. And the experiences in this lifetime that we're having, some of which are good, some of which are negative, most of which are neutral. Just having a cup of tea is just a neutral experience. Then, in a sense, we are the resultant of many of our past actions, some of which have already ripened as in our previous lives, caused us suffering, caused us happiness and good fortune in previous lives. But some of them have not yet ripened, and they're coming perhaps from many lifetimes ago. In Atisha's advice for a happy life from the heart, he says, if the things that you desire do not appear, it's because of actions that you engaged in many lifetimes ago. Therefore, practice contentment. So if things that you're not getting what you want in this lifetime, it's because you haven't created the causes for them to appear. And if you're getting the things that you don't want in this lifetime, then it's because you've created the causes for these things to appear in this lifetime. Okay? So there's nobody else to blame then, is there? You're the main cause. You're the writer of your own drama. You're the producer. You're the main actor and the director in your current drama. Yeah? And the other people who you're interacting with are just bit players. They're just the means by which you're receiving the results of your own past actions, the results of your own karmic potentials ripening. And so some of these karmic potentials have already ripened in this lifetime. Some of them have not yet ripened. Some of them will not ripen in this lifetime, will not ripen until future lifetimes. So what does that mean for who we will become? Now, the thing is, if we have a lot of negative karmic potentials in our deepest level of mind, because we've engaged in a lot of negative actions in the past, and one of the effects of karma, one of the laws of karma, is that every time we engage in an action, we strengthen the tendency to repeat the action. Isn't that? We strengthen the tendency to repeat the action. So if we've been angry and engaged in a lot of negative actions in the past, we may bring with us the tendency to get angry and engage in a lot of negative actions in this lifetime, because part of the experience that we've created is this strong tendency to repeat the action. It's one of the consequences of actions. And so what if, again, we continue in this lifetime to engage in further negative actions out of our angry mind? It means that we continue to create more negative karma. And what's our future life going to be like? More suffering going forward. Yeah. So, I don't mean to depress you, but it's like a wake-up call. Actually, whenever we experience suffering in this lifetime, it's like a wake-up call. We can think, this suffering that I'm experiencing, this difficult situation, and then I'm not getting what I want. This unhappy mind that I have is just the ripening of my negative karma. And it's a wake-up call that I have to somehow stop. I have to stop engaging in creating any more negative karma. Because if I continue like this, if I continue acting out of this angry mind, I'm going to create the cause of more suffering in my next life. And a part of our problem is that we don't think about our next life. Yeah? And I think part of it, the reason why we don't think about our next life is we think mainly of ourself as a physical being. Yeah? We think mainly we are identified by our body. And our mind is just like a secondary consideration. So we think, I'm a body who happens to, at the moment, to have this mind, to have a particular mind. And so, if we just think, I'm a body, and we know we're going to die, we're all going to die, right? Your body's not going to go on forever. There'll be none of it, in 100 years' time, none of us will be sitting here. We'll all be gone, burnt up in the sky or buried in the ground or something or whatever. But if we just think of ourselves as a body, then when we die, that's the end of it. There's nothing else. There's no next life. And I think that's a big mistake. Because if we really come to realize the nature of our own mind, we realize that's not the end of it. It's only the end of this life, the end of this body. And as I said, when we're dying, then our mind will just leave this body. The connection is broken, and it goes on to its next life. It finds another life into the point of union between our next mother and next father. And so hopefully, as I said earlier, there's no guarantee we'll always be human beings. It's quite a fortunate rebirth to have a human rebirth. And it's quite fortunate not just to have a human rebirth, but to be able to come to Dharma teachings. So we can understand how we can get better, how we can experience more joy and happiness and less suffering and problems. How many human beings have this opportunity? Hardly any. 0.00001% of the whole human population. I seem to remember if you've gone to school, if you had an education in school, you're better off than something like 90% of the population. It's extraordinary. But here you have the opportunity. Here you are right now in this very fortunate situation that you have the ability to understand and take action to try to ensure that you have more joy and happiness and less suffering in your future life. Not just for the rest of this lifetime, but also in your future lives as well. That's what's on offer, and it's free, but it's just dependent upon your own choices, your own actions. So one of the things we have to do two things. We have to clean up our act. Yeah? Just stop just hold yourself back from ever doing anything or saying anything that would cause hurt or harm to anyone else. Even insects. So even when you see a spider, you don't rush for a book or a newspaper or something. It can't be newspapers anymore, or your iPhone or whatever, and smash and squish the spider. Because the spider's a living being too. And you're shortening the spider's life and creating the cause to have your own life shortened. Yeah? So don't do that stuff. So there's in Joyful Path, in the chapter on karma, you see there's particular actions that we have to avoid, like the plague. Because they definitely result in very heavy suffering, and possibly also what's called a lower rebirth. So if you engage in any of these actions, your next life, you may waken up and find you're waking up one day and you find yourself covered in fur or feathers or scales or something. And you think, oh, what happened? It's because I killed that spider in my last life. Anyway, there's killing. You have to avoid killing at all costs. Because, generally we don't go around killing other human beings, generally. But we may be involved in killing animals or insects or fish. So we have to try to avoid that. I remember when I was teaching in North Carolina, there was a young man who was coming to my class and just started coming, and we talked about non-virtuous actions and the action of killing in particular. And he said, oh, I really enjoy fishing. And he began to realize that he was killing fish. And so, but he thought, well, I don't want to give up my enjoyment of fishing, but I don't want to carry on killing the fish either. So do you know what he did? He took the hooks off his line. And he still went, fly casting. But he wasn't catching the fish. So we can always find ways out of avoiding killing. Like ants come into your house, and often we tend to look for, chemicals that will kill the ants and so on. It's still an action of killing, really. But what we did in North Carolina, in one center we were constantly getting ants to come in, and they go into the food cupboards in search of sugar and so on. We found out where they were coming from outside. So they had a nest just on the grass outside. And so we would take the sugar to them. So they didn't need to come into the house. So we take honey and on a plate and stuff like that, just lay it outside their nest. And so they stopped coming in. Yeah. So you can find ways of dealing with these, being able to avoid these negative actions. So there's killing, there's stealing, there's sexual misconduct, which is engaging in sexual activity with anyone who's not your partner or anyone else who, even though you don't have a partner, anyone else who does have a partner, or indeed any kind of sexual activity that might cause hurt or harm to anyone. And so that's 3 of body. There's 4 of speech, interestingly. There's lying, keeping other people from the truth so they don't make the decisions for themselves, the best decisions for themselves. There's lying. There's divisive speech, which is slander. And there's hurtful speech, which is criticism. But interesting, there's also idle chatter. You ever engage in idle chatter? Yeah. Do you watch serials on television? Yeah. No? Oh, great. And it implies that we're just wasting our time that we could be doing to improve our mind, and also we could be wasting other people's time by posting meaningless things on Facebook or Instagram or stuff like that. It's okay to use these things for meaningful activities, like telling people to come to Dharma classes. But if you just think, oh, this is what I had for breakfast, what does that mean? Who cares? And then there's 3 actions of mind, which is covetousness, wanting to acquire things that other people enjoy. There's a mind of malice, thinking about how you could cause hurt and harm to other people. And there's a mind, it's called deliberately holding wrong views. A wrong view is anything that obstructs us from being able to improve ourselves. And in particular, as we're talking about karma, one wrong view is there's no past lives. There's only this life. And therefore there's no future lives as well. So if we deliberately hold that view, it will obstruct us being able to think about how we can improve ourselves. Because all we'll be concerned with, if you think there's only this lifetime, what are your objectives then? What do you want to accomplish? You just want to accomplish accumulation. Accumulating stuff that you think is going to make you happy. And you won't look at the nature of your mind, the quality of your mind, and how you create the causes of your own happiness or your own suffering. You're always looking externally, and you're a nice friend, a nice place to stay, nice food to eat, nice things to look at, nice music to hear, and so on, so forth. Nice perfumes, so it makes you not smell nice, and so on. And so you're always looking for these external things, which in themselves cannot create happiness. Because happiness is a state of mind, and it's not created by these external things. You think, oh, if I could just win the lottery, then I'd be happy. You should pray never to win the lottery. Because, and I'll tell you why, the average incidence of depression and suicide amongst lottery winners is much higher than the average population. So don't think this sudden accumulation of wealth is you're going to be happy. You're more likely to be depressed and suicidal. I'm sorry. So then we come to understand that what we need to do is clean up our act. Avoid these 10 non-virtuous actions at all costs. First of all, get to know what they are and look at your own mind to see where have I done these non-virtuous actions in this lifetime. If I got a bad habit of idle chatter, if I got a bad habit of criticizing other people because I get angry and so on, I need to stop it. I need to stop it. Because all I'm doing is creating the cause of more suffering and problems for myself. Buddha described our mind of anger that causes so much of our problems. It's like swallowing a hot coal and wishing others to experience the suffering. Yeah? It doesn't happen. So we know when we get angry, there's an unpleasant, uncomfortable feeling. So we come to realize I have all these negative tendencies that I've brought with me from previous lives. I have to stop these bad habits. I have to work on it. I have to practice what's called moral discipline. It's okay, the doors are locked, you can't escape. Moral discipline, it means we try to become as pure and as beneficial as we can. We try to stop all our negative minds, negative intentions, and which drive our negative actions of speech and negative bodily actions. So if we stop the covetousness, we stop the malice, we stop deliberately holding wrong views, and we begin to accept more and more of Buddha's teachings into our heart, and really begin to practice meditation, making ourselves more peaceful, beginning to practice love and compassion, but also practicing moral discipline. because we brought these tendencies with us into this lifetime. And it's like time bombs that just go off when the conditions are right. And it's, one wakes up in the morning and thinks, oh, I'm going to be angry today. This is going to be a good day to be angry, and it's going to cause so much harm for other people today. Nobody thinks like that. But it just arises. It just happens. Because we have no control. We need to take control over our mind. And another thing we need to do is to purify it. Get rid of all the negative potentials that still remain in our mind. And there's probably a lot. We probably have a lot of negative potentials. And so we need to do purification practice. So we need to do these two things. Practice pure moral discipline and purify negativities. And we talk about that later in the next session. So we can finish this session with a determination, with a meditation. So the meditation is a determination. Realizing how we create our experiences. And our experiences are caused by our own past actions. And we come to realize that if we want to be happy in the future, and experience less suffering, not just in the future of this lifetime, but in the future of future lifetimes, we have to practice moral discipline and avoid all negative actions of body, speech, and particularly mind, because mind drives all the others. So from our understanding of the relationship between our actions in past lives and our actions in this life and our future experiences of happiness or suffering, we choose happiness. And so in order to be able to choose happiness, we need to clean up our act in this lifetime, which means we need to practice moral discipline. The moral discipline of restraining ourselves from negative actions. The moral discipline of seeking to benefit other people. Bring them happiness and freedom from suffering. And the moral discipline of gathering Buddha's teachings to our heart. Taking Buddha's teachings to heart. So we just make a determination, this is what I shall do throughout the rest of this lifetime. I shall strive every day to practice pure moral discipline, holding myself back from any kind of negative thought or action, and looking for opportunities to bring benefit to other people. And each day striving to practice some aspect of Buddha's teachings. So make this determination very strong in your mind. And think about how you're going to bring benefit to your future self. you experience less suffering and problems and more joy and happiness. For the last minute or so, make this determination very strong in your mind. This is what I'm going to do. Whatever else I do in this life, I will strive to practice pure moral discipline. And just think of the joy you're going to create for yourself and the freedom from problems. Thank you. So now you can begin to relax your concentration. And when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So we'll have a break. And your break is an opportunity to practice moral discipline. And then we'll come back at 12 o'clock. Is that all right? Thank you. So in this session I'm going to talk more about the effects of actions and purification, how to purify the negative potentials that we've already created. Is that okay? That better be all right, because that's all we have.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dhamma flourish forevermore.
And so we can meditate. And again we can repeat the meditation that we did in the beginning of the last session. Just letting go of all our concerns about the outside world by imagining the whole world outside disappears into empty space, and all that remains is this room. And then bringing your mind just to watch the rhythm of your breathing. And noticing a feeling at the tip of your nose. Cool as you breathe in, and warm as you breathe out. And just allowing your mind to absorb into the feeling. And so the feeling absorbs into your mind also. As if the mind and the feeling mix together and just become one thing. So there is no gap between your mind and the feeling. And then realizing your mind has become still. You may notice a feeling of deep peace and contentment. So turn your mind to any feelings of peace and contentment. And you can think, I can have this anytime. I don't need anything else. I can have this anytime. So now you can begin to relax your concentration once more. And when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So, did you manage to hold yourself back? So, we can understand that there are particular results, effects coming from our actions. Every action that we engage in has 4 particular types of result. First of all, let's just go through the 4 general laws of karma once more. The relationship between actions and experiences is definite. Good actions will result in good conditions. Hurtful actions will result in suffering. The effects of action increase over time. So if there's a long time between the initiation of the action and the experience of the result, then the effect of the action can continue to increase. So this means that even a small action, let's say a small negative action, can eventually produce big negative results of suffering. Consequently, the opposite is true. A small beneficial action can produce great beneficial results. So the implication of that is we should never miss out on even the smallest beneficial action, and we should almost avoid even the small negative action. Like someone says something, you just raise your eyebrows, which is in dissent essentially, or criticism. No, you never do that. You never roll your eyes. Oh, good. Well, it's a negative action, yeah. If the other person sees it, you know. So it could produce a big negative result at some time in the future. So what we sow, we reap what we sow. And so we've got to be just watching our mind all the time, all day. Just whenever a negative tendency arises, we just hold ourselves back, just stop it, just stop. So the relationship between actions and effects are definite. The effects of actions increase over time. If an action is not committed, then we cannot experience its result. Which means that, let's say we're in a group of people, all of them have committed an action but you haven't, perhaps in a previous life. The group of people will experience the results all at the same time, but you don't. Imagine, some people in like a train wreck. Many people are injured and hurt and harmed during the train wreck, and there's other people just walk out. And what's the problem? And scot-free, and there's not even a scratch. So this indicates that they did not create the cause to experience the negative effects of the train wreck at that time. Their journey may be delayed, but there's nothing in comparison with the injuries that other people are experiencing. So if we haven't created the action, we cannot experience the result, which means we only experience the results of our own actions. Nobody else's. Yeah. So we can't blame anybody else, which is good. Because if we stop blaming other people, we're less likely to get irritated and angry with them. Yeah. Because we realize it's not their fault. Why should I get angry with them? You know? And essentially, I can be very happy with them, actually, because they're helping me, they're bringing to me the result of my own negative action. If it wasn't them, it would be somebody else bringing me the same result. And so, by experiencing the result, I'm actually purifying the negative consequences of that past action. Because once I experience it and the experience is over, that potential is gone, it's destroyed. It's no double jeopardy, kind of. So you can't be hit twice by the same action. And so the last one is an action is never wasted. There is every action we engage in will have an effect and a result. Like I said, you can't think, oh, if nobody's watching, then I'll get away with it. Sorry, you don't. Yeah, and so think of all the actions we engage in on a daily basis, just throughout the day. We have every moment of mind, we're having an action, it's a mental action. And if we're speaking all day, we're having lots of speaking actions of speech. And, unless we're lying in bed all day, which is an action of body, and we're out and about, we're engaging in bodily actions. So we can ask ourselves, what would be the likely effects of all those different types of actions I'm engaging in? Am I creating the cause to have a happy life in the future? Or am I creating the cause to have more problems and suffering in the future? Just asking yourself that question is very powerful, because it gives us an opportunity to begin to purify the negative potentials we've already created, and to begin, as I say, to clean up our act. By watching our mind, watching how our mind is because we have delusions in our mind. We have the potentials for delusions to arise, like desires, attachment. Bright shiny things appear in our life, and we think, oh, bright shiny thing. If I get hold of that, I'll be happy. Or people, But it's not. And so we got to realize that in the process of trying to acquire the bright shiny thing, we can create all kinds of negative actions. Yeah? And in the process of trying to get away the dull, negative thing, we can also create a whole lot of negative actions. So just watching our mind is very powerful practice. So what could be the end point of all this, watching the mind? So what we want to be able to do is to increase our capacity to engage in virtuous actions. And essentially it means we want to increase our capacity and our ability to bring benefit to other people. Yeah. So imagine we want to become like someone like Geshe Kelsang, like Buddha Shakyamuni 2,500 years ago. We want to become like them. We don't necessarily have to wear the same clothing and the same haircut and so on. We don't need to change any of that. All we need to do is change our mind. And so we could become an extraordinary, beneficial person who keeps who spends their whole life adding to the amount of happiness in the world and taking out the amount of suffering that exists in the world, just by our actions, by our mental actions, our actions of speech, and our physical actions as well. So what do we need in order to accomplish this? There's a wonderful section in here about how we can acquire a fully endowed human life. We look at the qualities. Let me just read a little bit from here. This is from page 311 of Joyful Path. The 8 attributes of a fully endowed human life. If we wish to create the cause to gain a human rebirth in the future, we should also strive to create the causes for a human rebirth that is highly qualified in terms of its usefulness for Dharma practice. A human rebirth alone will not necessarily afford ideal conditions for a spiritual practice, because there are many kinds of unfortunate human rebirth which are almost as limited as an animal rebirth. If we create the causes for a highly qualified human rebirth, even if we do not accomplish our ultimate aim of freedom from suffering, complete freedom or liberation, or full enlightenment in this life, we will at least ensure that we have the best opportunity to do so in the future. Either next life, or the one after that, or the one after that. So by creating the causes, the results will definitely arise. And I'm going to say also that in a sense we should be more concerned about creating the causes for happiness than trying to ensure that we have the experiences of happiness. Because if we focus on creating the causes, the results will definitely occur. And the problem with focusing on our experiences of happiness is we often look in the wrong place. Yeah. So what we should, what we should focus on is creating the causes to have a highly qualified human life. So the 8 attributes of a fully endowed human life. First is long life, then beauty, then high status, then wealth and resources, persuasive speech, power and influence, freedom and independence, a strong mind and a strong body. So this gives us many advantages, and because they give our human life the very best opportunity. So long life would enable us to fulfill our desires and complete our Dharma practice. I'll just go quickly through this section about the functions of these advantages. Beauty makes it easier for us to attract disciples. When we give Dharma instruction, helps them to develop faith in us. High status make people trust us, follow our advice. People more readily assume we are honest and more inclined to listen and believe what we say. So we're better able to teach Dharma to other people. Wealth and resources enable us to give generously. So we can encourage people to follow us and encourage people to take an interest in Dharma. Persuasive speech make others trust what we say and take our words to heart. Power and influence make others comply with our wishes, put our instructions into practice. So you see, you can think about how Geshe Kelsang has encouraged other people to put his teachings into practice throughout the world. You know, as a result, we're sitting here in this place that's arisen from Geshe Kelsang's wishes. Freedom and independence mean that we do not experience so many interferences to our practice. Strong body enables us to perform virtuous actions of body, and so on. We can also be free from physical hindrances such as illness, Strong mind enables us to understand Dharma quickly. We're able to eliminate doubts and hesitations, and we develop wisdom and concentration, making our mind even more powerful. So if we gain human rebirth with all these special attributes, we can use them to develop our own being, to become the best we can be in that particular life, through our own practice of Dharma. And in the process, we're helping others and enabling others to do the same. So what it means is that we're spreading happiness and the potential for freedom from suffering just through the power of whoever we are, and with the qualities that we find ourselves with in our next rebirth, because we have created the causes for them in this lifetime. So what are the causes then that we need to focus on? The seeds that we need to sow now are the causes of a human rebirth. So the causes of long life are to avoid harming others and to keep them from danger. And this includes not just human beings, but also insects and animals and so on. So if you see an insect about to drown in a bowl of water or a cup of tea, just hook it out. Save its life from drowning. Just simple things like that. You know, even a small action can produce great results. The causes of beauty are to overcome anger and intolerance with patient acceptance. So patience, the practice of patience, is a cause of beauty. Because we don't get angry. And when we get angry, it causes us to look ugly. Other causes of beauty are to offer light before images of Buddha, to make statues or paintings of Buddha, to make stupas, to repair images or statues of Buddha, to offer them fine garments or add gold to their faces, to give clothes to other human beings. So you can start by going home today and clean out your closet. And it's stuff you haven't worn for a long time, give it to somebody else so that they can wear it and get the use of it. So by such actions we're making others more attractive, and so we create the cause to become more beautiful ourselves. So there's actions or experiences similar to the cause that we create. The main cause of high status is to overcome pride, thinking we're so special. In the poem of 8 verses of Training the Mind, the second verse is about developing humility. Whenever I associate with others, may I view myself as the lowest of all. The lowest, the least important person. And one's importance comes only from one's ability to bring happiness and peace to other people and avoid causing harm. It's only then, this is the only significance that we really have. So pride prevents our spiritual progress and makes us less capable of gaining realizations, even though our knowledge of Dharma may increase. So we can think, even just by studying Dharma, we become very knowledgeable, and then because we have accumulated all this knowledge, we think, I am very special. No, we're not. As it says somewhere in here, there are many great scholars who take rebirth in the lower realms. Many great scholars are reborn into hell. Hell is just what appears to a really badly negative mind. So, although they have accumulated great knowledge and understanding of Dharma, they don't use it. They don't practice it. They don't use it to bring benefit to other people. They just develop their own sense of pride and arrogance. The main cause of wealth and resources is to practice giving by making offerings to enlightened beings. and giving wealth and resources to other beings. The main cause of persuasive speech is to be mindful of what we say. So always we're thinking, well, if I say this, what meaning will it have for other people? Will it tend to bring them peace and happiness, or help them to become free of suffering? So sometimes we just speak about whatever comes into our head. And sometimes this would be wonderful, and it has great meaning. Other times it's just a little nonsense. So we're just careful, we're just watching our mind, watching our speech. It is said that when we're with other people, we should be watching our speech. When we're alone, we should watch our mind. Yeah. If we do both of these things, then we avoid a lot of problems for ourselves. The main cause of power and influence is to practice prostrations and to respect others, especially those who are influential in our life, such as our parents and our teachers. You know, we should, all the teachers we've had throughout our life, we should come to regard them, because they're part of who we are today. The main cause of freedom and independence is to eliminate the dangers and problems that threaten others and help them to gain their own freedom and independence. The main cause of a strong body is to help those who are physically weak to regain their strength by giving them nourishment and medicine, and to avoid exploiting others physically, for example, not using animals to carry heavy loads or even to carry us. Causes of a strong mind are to help others overcome their mental problems and depression, and to help them to become happy, to increase others' wisdom and concentration, to engage in moral discipline, to develop our own concentration, and to develop our own wisdom by listening to or reading extensive Dharma instructions. So you begin to realize that the beneficial effects of our actions that we would want to create for ourselves, we create it by creating the causes that will lead to these particular situations. So we're really creating the cause. We're creating our next life, if you like. We're using this life to create a better one in the next life. And then we can use that one to create an even better one. So as I said earlier, we're creating for ourselves an upward spiral that is essentially just relentless. Because the more we create these beneficial causes, the more joy and happiness and freedom that we have for ourselves. And you know, when you're enjoying something, you want to do more of it, right? Yeah. And so, naturally, we want to do more because we experience joy, and it becomes effortless. We don't even have to think, oh, I have to do this. It just comes naturally that we do it, just like as we brush our teeth every day. It's just a natural process. And in the process, we're creating causes for a higher and higher rebirth for ourselves, and higher enjoyment, even in this lifetime. And so it's this upward spiral that we're creating, and not the downward spiral that we could be creating just by engaging in negative actions. So we're using our understanding of karma to improve ourselves, to become the best we can be. And if we keep doing this, then eventually we just end up like Geshe Kelsang, or like Buddha Shakyamuni and all those who have gone before. As I said, you don't have to be an ordained person. Many lay people have become enlightened beings, countless. Yeah. In reality, you don't know who's enlightened and who's not. In reality, you could all be enlightened. And you're just thinking, oh, hurry up, Tilopa. Yeah, we've got a football game to go to. And so, yeah. So, just to conclude this little bit, to practice moral discipline, we need to meditate again and again on the law of karma. So we need to contemplate this relationship between our own actions and our own experiences, and constantly thinking, if I do this, what will be the result for me? And then it gives you a choice. We're not dependent upon luck or destiny. There's nothing written that we don't write ourselves. So we're creating our future life day by day, moment by moment. It's nothing to do with luck or chance or some random effect. It's a definite effect, definite relationship between our actions and our experiences. And if we come to understand this, then we turn more naturally towards Dharma and begin to use Dharma to improve ourselves. This is the whole point of it. It's not Dharma for Dharma's sake. It's Dharma so we can become the better person and help others do the same. So I want to also read a little bit from this text. It's called The Wheel of Sharp Weapons. It's a text that Geshe-la mentions quite a lot, although this is not written by Geshe-la himself, but he does, everything in it is the same as Geshe-la's teachings. And but there's a kind of extensive, we can't really understand the specific relationships between one actions and one experience. But we can understand in general terms. So I just want to read some of this because it's quite fascinating. So it's showing us the relationship between our current experiences and the past negative actions that we engaged in, that we probably engaged in. It's not definite. When our bodies are aching and racked with great torment of dreadful diseases we cannot endure, this is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Till now we have injured the bodies of others. Hereafter let's take on what sickness is theirs. So in the past we've hurt other people. Now when it says hereafter let's take on what sickness is there, let's take away their sickness. Let's help them become free of their sickness. And in the process, we're creating the cause to become free of sickness ourselves. So we're using the realization of our own physical discomfort and sickness and diseases to realize, to give us the intention to create the cause to take away others' sickness and thereby heal ourselves, enable us to avoid our own future sickness. And so there's countless verses like this. Depressed and forlorn when we feel mental anguish. You ever been depressed and forlorn when you feel mental anguish? This is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Until now we have deeply disturbed the minds of others. Hereafter let's take on this suffering ourselves. Let's heal the minds of others. Let's help them find real peace and happiness, and thereby create the cause to be free of mental anguish and depression ourselves. When our minds are unclear and our hearts are unhappy, we are bored doing virtue, but excited by vice. You ever been excited by vice? Probably. This is when our minds are bored doing virtue, but excited by vice. This is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done, till now we have led others to acts of non-virtue. Hereafter, let's never provide the conditions that rouse them to follow their negative traits. So we're experiencing this boredom about engaging in spiritual practice, and instead we want to go out and follow our worldly concerns, and so create more problems and suffering for ourselves. But now, let's not. This is arising because we've diverted people away from their spiritual practice, from their engagement in virtue, and so let's help them now to engage in virtue. And by doing so, we create the mind that enjoys engaging in virtue. When all our affairs, there's the one before that, when others find fault with whatever we are doing, and people seem eager to blame only us, this is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Till now we have been shameless, not caring about others. We have thought that our deeds did not matter at all. So we just do whatever we want. If it feels good, just do it. Don't care about what happens to other people. Hereafter, let's stop our offensive behavior. Let's clean up our act. When our mind, this is especially for foundation program students, when our mind becomes clouded whenever we study, this is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Till now we have thought that the study of Dharma lacked prime importance and could be ignored. Hereafter, let's build up the habits of wisdom to hear and to think about what Buddha taught. So you all need to join foundation program and study and think about what Buddha taught. When all our affairs, both religious and worldly, run into trouble and fall into ruin, this is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Till now we have felt cause and effect could be slighted. Hereafter, let's practice with patience and strength. So what this is saying then is understanding the laws of karma. Let's just accept it and just go with the flow of the karma that we ourselves have created and strive to engage in virtuous actions. And whenever negative feelings and experiences are occurring, use that as a wake-up call to think, this is only occurring because I engaged in negative actions in the past. So use that and think, I've got to put more energy into cleaning up my act and bringing benefit to other people and avoid causing harm to other people. Let's practice with patience and strength. When attachment and anger disturb and upset us, no matter how much we may try to suppress them, this is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Till now we have held on to the improper outlook stubbornly cherishing only ourselves. Hereafter, let's uproot self-interest completely. So, as I said, we become less interested in our own experiences of happiness and joy, and more interested in creating the causes of happiness for other people. So, all of our problems, all of our delusions are arising from this mind of self-cherishing. It's called self-cherishing, thinking only my happiness is important. If we turn that around and stop cherishing ourselves and come to cherish only others, then we're creating the cause for our own future happiness. You know, Shantideva, the 8th century scholar and yogi, says all the happiness in the world comes from a mind that wishes others to be happy. So when we stop thinking about our own happiness and think about the happiness of others, and we try to create that for them, then paradoxically we're creating the cause of our own happiness. When no matter how well meant our actions towards others, they always elicit a hostile response. This is the wheel of sharp weapons returning full circle upon us from wrongs we have done. Till now we have repaid loving kindness with malice. Hereafter let's always accept others' favours, both graciously and with most humble respect. So, sometimes people give us things, and it's almost like we don't feel very much about the gift or about their actions, their beneficial actions towards us. And it's as if we get hostile towards them. Even we disparage the gifts and their actions of giving. And so that it comes back to us. We experience the same kind of result when our beneficial energy towards others is just rejected. And what we can realize is this is because we did the same thing ourselves in the past. And so we just got to keep cherishing others and understanding, even though we may feel hurt and harmed by others. It doesn't matter. We just cherish them more. There's an expression, love until it hurts, and then love some more. Okay, so that gives you some inkling about the causes of our current experiences in this lifetime and why we experience particular things and aspects of mind and our relationships with other people, and because we have created the causes for these things to occur. So now we have an incentive both to clean up our act and to practice purification. Just a couple of weeks ago we had Vajrasattva purification practice. So in Buddhism is two main practices of purification. One is doing prostrations to confession Buddhas, and the other is engaging in the practice of Vajrasattva. But each of these practices involve 4 what's called powers. The first one is regret. We have to be able to regret all of the negativity that we've committed in this life that we can remember, and all that we have forgotten, and all that we've committed in previous lives as well that have not yet ripened. So what we're doing here is getting rid, like a gardener cleans out the earth before he plants the seeds of beautiful flowers. What we're doing is the same thing. We're cleaning out our mind of negative potentials. And the more purification we do, the more we clean out our mind. But in reality, we probably have a lot of purification to do, because we've planted, many, many negative seeds in our mind. Fortunately, we've planted a lot of positive seeds as well, obviously. But the first thing we have to do is to regret all our past negative actions. And regret is very different from a mind of guilt. There's no external person saying, oh, you're a bad person. All that's happened is, essentially each person has the same potential to become an enlightened being, because we all have the seeds of wisdom and compassion in our deepest level of mind, and that's the only permanent aspect of who we are. Each one of us has the seeds of wisdom and compassion, and all our job is to ripen these seeds, and eventually we become an enlightened being. It's just cause and effect. Ripen the seeds of wisdom and compassion, become an enlightened being. Simple. But at the same time, we have all kinds of other seeds or potentials that we've already planted by our past actions. So we want to try and get rid of all the negative potentials that have not yet ripened as suffering, that are just waiting for the right conditions so that they will ripen as suffering. So we just have to develop a mind of regret, thinking, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't caused that harm to other people. I wish I hadn't just wasted my time and energy as a human being. And then we can, so the mind of regret is applying an opponent to one of the types of effects of our negative karma. So the mind of regret purifies the experiences that are similar to the cause. Like when I was reading out of Wheel of Sharp Weapons there, it was talking about experiences that are similar to the cause. So when we develop this mind of regret, it begins to purify many of these experiences that are similar to the causes, the negative causes that we created. Then there's the mind of reliance. Reliance is essentially going for refuge and generating the mind of bodhicitta. The mind that this is a Mahayana tradition, and the essence of that is the mind of enlightenment. It's called bodhicitta. Bodhi meaning enlightenment and citta meaning mind. So we develop the mind of refuge, thinking the only real way I'm going to be able to become a better person, to enjoy more peace and happiness, is to engage with Buddha's teachings. In order to, so I'll come to see Buddha himself, enlightened beings who are still around, the teachings that Buddha gave, and the other practitioners. I'll come to view them as my main source for being able to improve myself, to be able to free myself from suffering. We have other sources like going to the dentist, or going to a doctor, going to your lawyer when you have a legal problem, or whatever. But ultimately, all of those things will benefit us in one lifetime, but only Buddha's teachings and the Sangha, the community, will enable us to build our protection for future lifetimes, to become the best we can be. So the mind of refuge purifies another of the effects, which is the environmental effect. The environmental effect is like, we are reborn into a world where we can enjoy, like Sefton Park. We can enjoy other companions in this world. We can enjoy Lark Lane and go for coffee and so on. And so this is our environment. This is the place where we live. And so it's very beneficial. So in some or other we must have engaged in good actions in the past. But there are many other situations. One there's maybe a disadvantage of being in this part of the world. It doesn't, not so much sunshine. As in Florida, for example. So the mind of reliance or going for refuge purifies the environmental effect. So we're always born take rebirth into good conditions that are conducive to our good health and that support our spiritual practice. One of the environmental effects is that we have Geshe Kelsang has appeared in our life, in our time, and produced these Dharma centers and Dharma teachers and Dharma books that we can use to improve ourselves. Then there's the opponent, which purifies the ripened effect. The ripened effect is the type of rebirth that we take. Now, in this lifetime, the ripened effect for us has been to take rebirth as a human being. What will the ripened effect be like for us in our next life? So the opponent, in the case of the practice of Vajrasattva, is just reciting Vajrasattva's mantra. And the thing about mantra is, the mantra is the same nature as the Buddha, him or herself. So Tara's mantra is the same as Buddha Tara. Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, his mantra is the same nature as the Buddha of compassion itself. And so by reciting the mantra, we're mixing our mind, first of all by hearing the sound and thinking about the words. So we're mixing our mind with the Buddha, Avalokiteshvara, Buddha Tara, or Vajrasattva. And the thing about Vajrasattva is the nature of purification, because he contains his body and mantra is the nature of 5 wisdoms, 5 omniscient wisdoms. And these, when we're reciting the mantra, we can imagine these 5 omniscient wisdoms pouring down into our body, filling up our body, purifying all the negative potentials that we have. In the case of prostrations, the opponent itself is the actual action of making prostration. And there are different types of prostration. Again, the Siddhana will show you. But then comes the kicker. It's the power of promise. So we promise that once we realize the negative actions, the negative potentials we've created, we try to promise not to engage in the same actions again. Yeah, because we want our purification practices, the application of the opponent and our mind of regret to have function, to work over the long term. So just imagine if you do some purification and you go out and do the same thing all over again. It's not, the next time you try and do purification, it's not going to be so effective. Nobody's going to believe your mind of regret. If you really regret it, you try to stop it as much as possible. But with the power of promise, you have to be a little bit careful. There's no point in thinking, oh, I'm never going to tell lies again. Not even white lies, ever again. And then within half an hour you think, oh, I didn't do that, sorry. No. Wasn't me. And you just broken your promise. So if we have a strong tendency to do things like telling lies or getting angry or whatever it is, and you make a promise over a time that you know you can keep your promise. So in the case of telling lies, for example, it might only be 10 minutes, but that's good. So you watch your mind for 10 minutes, and over those 10 minutes you hold yourself back for saying anything that might not be true. So if I ask you, put your hand up if you've ever told a lie, and you don't put your hand up, so, but then if you accomplish this for 10 minutes, you accomplish the restraint for 10 minutes, then you can think, oh well, next time I can manage for 20 minutes, I'll try for 20. And so you watch your mind for 20 minutes and you hold yourself back again. And so you're building on success by just planning a small amount of restraint. And then gradually you're able to extend this restraint over a longer and longer period of time. And so maybe in 5 years' time you look back and you say, hey, I haven't told any lies for 5 years. And imagine how you would feel. I haven't been angry for 5 years. Imagine how you would feel then. You'd feel that you'd managed to change yourself and that you've taken control over the direction of change of who you are. You're changing moment by moment anyway. And so you may as well take direction, take control over the direction of change that you're going in by cleaning up your act and practicing purification. So in the case of prostrations, we have prostrations on Monday mornings at 7:15 and on Thursday morning at 7:15 also. So it's Monday and Thursday at 7:15 here to do purification practice. So if you're interested, you know where to come. So well, let's finish then with another meditation. And the meditation we're going to do is to develop the mind of regret and make a commitment to apply the three other forces, the three other powers of purification. The three other powers are the reliance, which means going for refuge and generating the mind of bodhicitta, which you can do by engaging in spiritual practice and coming to teachings and so on. The power of the opponent force, by applying one of Buddha's purification practices, practice of Vajrasattva, or the 35 confession Buddhas, and the power of promise, being careful with the power of promise, but sincerely making a determination to really clean up your act. So we'll meditate on the mind of regret, simply thinking, oh, I realize I've committed many negative actions in the past, in this life alone, and probably countless others in previous lives. And because I understand that all of those negative actions, if they have not yet ripened as suffering and problems, they will ripen as suffering and problems either in this life or in future lives. And so I regret having engaged in that negativity, A, because of the effect it has upon me, because the effects that I will have to endure, but also because I caused harm to others. Because I'm coming to cherish others, it's unbearable to think about how much harm I've caused others. And with this mind of regret, I will sincerely practice purification by applying the 3 other powers. The power of reliance, taking refuge in the 3 jewels. The power of the opponent force, reciting mantras or engaging in prostrations, and the power of promise. To do complete purification, the 4 powers need to be present in our purification practice. So we can meditate on the mind of regret. Just hold this thought: I regret all my past negative actions in this life and in previous lives. And I will apply the other 3 powers to purify the effects of those negative actions. But first, focus your mind completely on the mind of regret. And now make a commitment to yourself to engage in purification practices. The practice of Vajrasattva or the practice of prostrations with the 35 confession Buddhas. And these will include the other 3 powers. The power of reliance, taking refuge in it and generating the mind of bodhicitta. The power of the opponent force, which could be any action, any virtuous action intended to purify negativity. And then the power of promise. Promising to clean up your act. So you become like a pure person, free from faults. Now, just before you arise from meditation, just take a moment to dedicate all the positive energy and merit that you've created just by being here and listening to this teaching on karma. You've created amazing causes that will result in many good experiences in the future. So dedicate all that positive energy you've created for your own enlightenment and the enlightenment of all other living beings too. Just imagining world peace breaking out as a result of your actions. Thank you. So now you can relax your concentration, and when you're ready you can arise from meditation. Well, thank you for your attendance and kind attention. So I hope you go away and really think about those 3 questions. Who are you? Where did you come from? And where are you going? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, I'm doing this for the benefit of those online because we're still online to some people. So next Saturday, this next weekend, we have, again, Taleb was saying we need purification to purify our past negativity. We also need abundance of merit. Okay, that's positive seeds on a mental continuum. So next Saturday, we're doing there's a tremendous opportunity to to gather all this merit. We're doing Guru Yoga Mandala retreat. Now you think, oh, what the heck's that? Well, go on the website and have a look. Okay, but it's Saturday. It's all day. You don't have to do it all day. The morning will be very similar, like you've just had this morning. Will be a commentary to this practice, and you'll be guided and told exactly what we'll be doing in the afternoon. And in the afternoon, we'll actually be doing the offering the mandala, offering the universe. That's what the mandala is, offering the universe to the Buddhas. Okay, for the benefit of all living beings. Tremendous practice, very, very powerful, very, very meritorious. So everyone's welcome. Hope to see you there. Thank you.